Hey folks, my name's Chris Wessel. Today we're going to be tying an Icelandic Atlantic salmon fly called the Crosfield. We're going to be tying a hair wing version of this, so without further ado, let's get on into it. So today we're tying our Crosfield hair wing version, that sounded weird, on a number 8 Partridge Patriot. I love these little hooks, as I said in previous videos. We're going to start off today with UTC 70 in a white. Alright, and I am going to add in now some extra small oval in silver. And we're just going to bring that back. Right about there. And then I'm just going to bring the thread back up to where I want to stop this butt of the fly. And we're just going to wrap up to there. One more. So now I'm just going to tie that in with a couple turns, and I'm going to tuck this in my material holder and on my vise. So our next material is golden pheasant. This one's been picked at a little bit, but there's still lots on it. When I'm prepping golden pheasant, I know this is something everybody kind of does differently, but I like to just grab the very tip and kind of pull the rest of these fibers and strip them off. That way the material you're using all reaches out basically to the tip. There may be a few ones out of place, oops, but that's kind of how I've always prepped my golden pheasant. I don't know how everybody else does it. This one's really hard to hold on to, apparently. And sorry guys, I do have to tip my vise a bit just to kind of get this in. So I'm holding the golden pheasant on the curve pointed up in my fingers, and I'm just going to tie that in like that. And that should be just about where I want it. It's not the nicest one I've tied in, but alright, so now we're going to bring our thread to the front of the fly up near the eye. I find it so difficult to tie at this angle. I'm so used to tipping my vise like this towards me, so bear with. Alright, so our next material we're going to use is a underbody in a white. This is a nice little material for, I pretty much use it under every fly that I tie with a silver body. It makes for a, well, first of all, it's white. Now it doesn't really matter because we're using white thread anyway, but in the event we were using like a black thread right now. White's always good to have underneath the silver because it shows if you do miss a gap or anything, white doesn't show through silver like black does. And also this stuff lays down really nicely, giving you a good base to wrap mylar onto. And it's going to create a bit of girth in our body as well, which we're kind of looking for here. And I'm just trying to put this on in a way that I don't have too many bumps. And it kind of gives us like that, you know, perfect width to our body. So really good choice to use this on this pattern. And I'm just going to kind of tack that in there and get rid of this extra stuff. Alright, I'm going to have a quick look at the fly. Alright, and the next material we're going to use is a uni mylar in a number 14, and we're going to be using silver side. Oh, before we put that on, oops, I'd like to lay down just a little bit of head cement on this body. I've explained it in all my previous videos, but if you've never seen any of my other videos, I do this before I wrap mylar onto it, because this makes a difference between a bad hook set on some teeth and falling apart and not. Sometimes it's not guaranteed every time, but having this mylar cemented onto this body is not going to hurt you in any way. It will only help. And we're just taking our time to wrap down to the back of this fly. Don't be too concerned if there's a little gap in between some of your wraps, because we're coming right back up this hook, and the chances of you missing that twice are pretty slim. Watch it happen now. And as I'm coming around the tail, I always kind of grab onto the tail there just to make sure nothing really shifts too badly. And we're going to just move back towards the front now. And we're keeping fairly good tension on this material. It can take it, but what that does is it kind of stretches it a tiny bit too, and you won't see anything kind of kinked up. I don't know if that's the right word for it or not, but it does happen. That's why I use smaller mylar as well. Larger mylar, it gets a little bit difficult to wrap these bodies, because you will see the edges of it kink up in some spots. And just a few wraps to tie that in. Now we're going to bring our ribbing up through. We're going to have a quick look. Are we happy with everything? Yeah. And I'm just kind of, mylar is slippery, so I kind of just hold my finger on the first wrap. Sometimes I'll do it the whole way through. And I'm putting really good tension on this. So I'm just pinning that down to bring it around the other side, and that helps me wrap. All right. Okay, so our next material is going to be the throat, and we're using a blue hen saddle today. Basically when I'm doing this, I leave it on the stem. I pull out about this much at a time, make sure all my tips are lined up, and I take that and just pull that off. And then what I'll do is, if that's not enough for my throat, I want a little bit more than that, I'll just lay that down and I'll do the same again. There, and I'll line up those edges or tips, and then I'll pick that up. I'm holding those lined up in my fingers. You're never letting go at any point of at least one side. Give it a little spin in your fingers, flick it, and you got a pretty good throat there. And I'm just coming in. A lot of people turn their fly upside down for this. I don't like doing that. I've always just learned like this way because I never had a rotating vise growing up, so this is just how I learned. And I want to kind of tie this throat in towards where the back of my head's going to be, not up to the front of it. And the reason for that is now I can turn this over and I can trim this before making the rest of those wraps. And what that's going to do is give me a little space to come forward and cover up that cut end. Otherwise, there are times where you will get that little blue cut end hanging out. Shows up like a sore thumb. A good way to fix that, of course, is with a black Sharpie marker, and it won't stick out as much if you do have it stick out. Our next material we're going to use is a gray squirrel on this. In Newfoundland, we would typically sub this out for a moose. Moose is king here on the island, and it's been proven time and time again. So it took a little bit there. You know, I think I could do a little bit more than that. So I'm just going to make this very awkward. I'm going to stack this anyway. I think that'll work. I could have went with I'm going to go with just a little bit more. Just pulling out some of that shorter stuff back there. That's a nice amount for the wing that I want on this fly for a number 8. So I'm just going to come up here, and I'm just looking to come back to the tip of my wing so I know where I need to cut ish. And I'm coming in, I'm coming up, and I'm splitting those hairs. I'm bringing the thread through the middle of that, and I'm coming down. Same thing, but we're not splitting over top. So basically we have that wing split in two now. It does make a difference. Geez, that's going to be a big head. I didn't realize I had that much. Nah, it's not too bad. Yeah, you're just splitting that. Helps hold in squirrel. Normally I would use super glue here. I'm actually now waiting for some on Amazon to come, so you can use head cement. It should hold considering we split that wing as well. And I'm just going to tie that in. Now you're probably wondering, like, hey, like, you know, that's supposed to have a black head. And what we're going to do there is we're just going to color up our thread with a Sharpie marker, black. It's not something I always do, but like, especially where this head is already a bit large for this fly. I know what I did. I tied the head back a little bit too far on the body. I should have brought it forward a bit. Instead of changing my threads over and just creating more bulk, I'm just gonna color my thread black and proceed. And this works. There's no issue with it. It's cheating, I guess. May need to color up a little bit more. Again, I find it so hard to work at this angle when I'm filming. I can't see what I'm normally seeing, so this goes a bit smoother when I'm able to change the angle of how I'm looking at my vise. Noticing on your guys' side, I definitely missed some parts there. Alright. I think I can get away with maybe tying that off now without coloring anymore. I may regret this. Yep. No, that'll be fine. And honestly, like, this is going to be covered in head cement. So I'll just, anywhere that doesn't look like it got dyed enough. Or you can just use black head cement too. Like, it's not a big deal. Alright. So our Crosfield is pretty much done. We're just going to put on a coat of thinner head cement than what I have in my other bottle. And then we'll go with a thicker head cement once this dries. Or maybe we'll stick with this thinner stuff. The head's already big enough. Anyway, folks, that is a hair wing Crosfield. I think the more popular version of this pattern is the feather wing. But here in the Maritimes, we typically fish all hair wing patterns for traditional feather wings. But this is a legit hair wing version of this pattern. Thank you all very much for popping by and watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. If not a huge deal. Just happy to have you along. Until next time, take care.